and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Third and 10 podcast. Once again, episode 11. Yes, episode 11. We are almost there, folks. We went through one preseason game already, and the first official week of preseason is this week. And we'll see all 32 teams in action, I believe. So excited for that. But the point of today's episode is to discuss the AFC East, one of the 8 divisions in the NFL, as you guys know. So for the next few weeks or so, until up to the season starts, we'll discuss every division and our thoughts on them and bring in special guests as well to join us. But of course, I can't do the show alone. This guy has always been one of my best co-hosts, if not the best co-host I've ever had in my life. Fellow Giants fan. He's a Mets fan as well. And the Mets are doing pretty well, but he's also, more importantly, a Giants fan. Brian Germinaro joins me once again. My guy, B, how you doing?
I need the Mets to stop playing on the West Coast. I hate West Coast games so much. I really do.
What's wrong with the West Coast, buddy?
It's just so, it's just like you're staying up till 10, and then the game's not over till 2. It kills your whole night. I like 7, game's over at 10. I can do whatever I want for the rest of the night.
Yeah, but
And the Mets just perform bad on the West Coast. They have my entire life.
Look, man, the West Coast is nice, man. I think for me, I can't complain because, like you just said, I don't got to stay up too late to watch him. But in your case, of course, you have to stay past midnight and you're trying to sleep or you're trying to just relax. But yeah, you have to watch your Mets perform. So I totally understand it. Have you guys been winning on the West Coast at least, or no?
No, we got beat up by the Angels and we lost to the Rockies last night. So hopefully for a win tonight.
All right. I think Paul Blackburn's on the mound for you guys tonight, so that'll be exciting to see.
I had a great 6 innings in the first game against the Angels. So let's see if we can back it up in the hitter's park known as Coors Field.
Amen. All righty, buddy. So before we bring in our guests, 2 special dudes, love them to death, man. They have a great show that they host as well. We'll bring them in just a bit to talk about the AFC East. But I want to break down real quick the Giants' first preseason game is tomorrow. Very excited for that, as the Giants will take on the Detroit Lions. And they had a couple of joint practices, if not a few, if I recall.
You didn't call us practices. They look more like UFC fights.
And that's the first topic I want to discuss with you, buddy. Because, last year we didn't see this fight in this team. We didn't see much, physicality. I'm not saying that they should be fighting all the time, but we saw some bit more energy from the Giants, especially from one of our young rookies who kind of got things going in those joint practices when it came to the fighting. So your thoughts on the fighting, and we'll break down everything else.
Yeah, it's not a good look, like always. You shouldn't be fighting in minicamp stuff, but it is nice to see these guys who have some passion, and there is a brotherhood with them. We saw videos of Ahmad St. Brown fighting a horde of Giants defensive backs and linemen. You know who weren't there? Any other Detroit Lions, okay? So it shows that the Giants are willing to fight and stand up for each other. Daniel Jones is getting in the middle of scrums, for God's sake.
I saw that.
It shows there is a brotherhood on this team, and this team does have good chemistry, which will only benefit you going into the season.
100%. Neighbors picking a fight with Kirby Joseph, I believe. The safety for Detroit. Let's face it, Joseph, you would have got your butt beat, but hey, we gotta take it easy on that. But both teams
I don't need breaking his hand, hitting his helmet. All right, I don't need that.
We don't need any.
He was 17 of 18 on catches. He's going to be so good. I placed a bet plus 1,300 for offensive rookie of the year for Mr. Neighbors. So let's go.
Very nice.
No injuries.
I'm glad that both teams did escape with just a $200,000 fine that they were assessed today. So nothing too crazy for both teams. But for the Giants, man, I'm very, very happy that we're showing the fight. Even if it's just a training camp, that just shows that, despite the fact we were bad last year, we're not a pushover. It's clear that even with the tough schedule this upcoming season, we're going to be just fine, I think, from a physicality standpoint and just from a competitive standpoint. This team is ready to go as the doorbell decides.
You got food, huh?
I have no clue, man, but I do apologize for that as the dogs are barking in the background. That's nice. While we wait, what are your thoughts on Brian Burns? Because he's showing up as well.
Yeah, Brian Burns is showing us why he deserves that big contract and why he was worth the second and fifth round. Like he is going to be such a game changer on this Giants defense. We probably won't see a lot in preseason because of there being injury concerns and stuff like that. Don't want to get hurt in meaningless preseason games. But what we're seeing for practice, I am very much looking forward to seeing Brian Burns. It's funny that Brian Burns and Malik Neighbors, two of the big names the Giants got in the offseason, were the two big stars this time around. It just shows you that Joe Shane knows what he's doing. He's bringing the right guys, and his goal is to turn this Giants team around. And when the Giants do get turned around, because I truly believe that Joe Shane has figured this out, this roster is a lot better than people are giving it credit for. Those two guys will be the centerpieces of it. All right, you have Neighbors on the offense being the superstar. Sure, they'll bring in the quarterback, and he might get of the hype and the attention because it's a quarterback league. But everyone will know that it's kind of like we're Eli Manning and Odell. We'll get a new situation with that. With say it is Daniel Jones, or say it is someone like a Shadir Sanders or Carson Beck. They'll be the quarterback, but the star and the one everyone pays attention to on that offense will be Malik Neighbors. And same thing with the defense. We might get Deontay Banks continuing to develop. We might get Kayvon Thibodeau living up to the expectations. I think he's pretty decent. Ezekiel Ojulari could, step up. Dexter Lawrence is already a superstar, best defensive tackle in the league. We could get, Pinnock and Tyler Nubin could take that next step. But if you look at the Giants defense, it'll always be Brian Burns. Brian Burns until that contract runs out or until his days with the Giants are over, because I truly think if he, goes out there as a strong campaign this year and strong, couple seasons, like he will be Giants uniform for life. Like it is that simple. So you can't take much out of joint practices. At the end of the day, it is practice, but it was nice to see Brian Burns get. I think he had, I want to say 2 sacks, and not Tyler Nubin, Malik Neighbors catch 17 of 18 balls. Like, is it a problem that Daniel Jones is only targeting Malik Neighbors? Yes and no, because teams can pick up on that fast. But that's not going to be in the season. B, Malik Neighbors shows that he can handle it, catching 17 of 18. So that's where we're at, where the Giants camp.
In all, this Giants team, man, they're just ready to go. But honestly, the first test is tomorrow with the preseason game against Detroit. Real quick, before we bring our guest in, I want to talk about the projected starting lineup according to Dan Duggan, Giants beat reporter for The Athletic. He says if everything goes to plan, the starters will look like this. Drew Lock will be at quarterback, which is fine. Tyrone Tracy, one of our favorite running backs, will be the starting running back. Jalen Hyatt is on the fence if he does play, but he looks to be the starter if nothing else changes. Allen Robinson.
I would give him a series, maybe not. Give him like a series, but like maybe a quarter at most. Nothing more than that.
Yeah, that's fine, I think. And then Isaiah Hodgins, the other receiver, and then Isaiah McKenzie will be the wide receiver number 3. Theo Johnson will be the starting tight end, it looks like. And then the starting offensive line, Azudu, Kubas, Schlotman, Mayfield, and Miles. So no starters whatsoever, not even Greg Van Roten. And then defensively, we got Ryder Anderson, Jordan Riley, Elijah Chapman, Azeez Ojulari. So we'll expect big things from him tomorrow, unless he gets hurt, of course, but God forbid.
Let's hope not. God, no injuries. That's the one thing you want in no injuries. None.
Whatsoever. Nothing.
You can't win the preseason, but you can sure lose it.
Amen to that, brother. So Ojulari and Boogie Basham will be the 2 edge rushers. And then inside we have Johnson and Muasu at linebacker. And then Cordell Flott and Nick McLeod will be the starting corners. Andrew Phillips will be in the slot. And in the back end, we got Dame Belton and Tyler Nubin. So that's going to be the starting lineup, it looks like, for tomorrow. And we'll see Tommy DeVito as well as Nathan. Nathan Rook was cut. So it's going to be Tommy DeVito and Drew Lock playing tomorrow. So big things from those two, hopefully, as they face off the Detroit Lions. All right, I think that's pretty much it for Giants wise. Prayers to Rondé Moore. He left with a broken leg and a
Yep.
inflatable cast, I believe. So prayers to him. And the Cleveland
Mhm.
Browns have a $2.4 billion stadium that's on the way.
How
Can we be?
smart building a dome stadium in cold weather.
Hmm.
Learn from that.
I
Oh,
I don't really like domes. Like with the retractable roof, though, right? That would be fine with that because I don't like domes.
get something when it's 30 degrees outside. The Giants can still have a passing game and don't have to
Got
rely
it.
on the run game.
I hate domes.
Yeah.
I think Syracuse has a dome. I hate it, but
Yes, the
anyway.
Syracuse has a dome. Very famous of the dome.
Hate it, man. Hate it. MetLife Stadium or the Giants. We're next. Okay, let's build a stadium, shall we? But all
We're
right,
not.
oh, yeah, it's gonna take a minute. Shit, come on, Mara, step up. Joining
He
us
did.
now. No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
No, yeah.
He stepped up and built the crap one, but he stepped up. No public funds for that stadium.
Well, he better save his money and build another one. Jesus. So he frustrates me sometimes.
All the time.
Jeez. All right, B. I think it's time, buddy. Let's bring in our special guest
Bring him on.
from the ATL Show. You may have seen him last week, folks. Talk about Saints football. That was fun. They were a bit frustrated, of course, because their Saints are the Saints. But there's some news that came out today. Our boys Easy and 16 join us right now. Before you guys even start talking, I gotta say, if you guys get Justin Simmons, I'm just saying that may be the key to winning the South. That's all.
No, we need him. So they need to do whatever they got to do to sign him because I like our secondary, but that just makes us even better there. So they need to do whatever they can to go ahead and lock that up.
Alrighty. Well, fellas, first off, how you both doing? I know it's pretty hot over there in Georgia. But how we feeling, boys? How we feeling today?
Doing good,
man. It's blazing outside, man. Inside is where you need to be at, not out there.
I know we were eavesdropping on your previous conversation. I did have to agree with you, Brian. And 16 would agree. West Coast start time, brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Trash.
Starting at 10 o'clock and hoping it ends at midnight is just worse. Whether it's basketball or baseball,
yeah. You see that 10:30. You see that 10:30 start time. You like, man, this is the worst.
Yeah, you guys are night owls, man. Figure it out. Come on.
The whole night's messed up.
Yeah,
man, it's bad, especially if you stay up that late and they lose too. It's even more frustrating.
Tired the next day. It's like I don't have like a win to back me up. I'm just tired and miserable.
Yep.
And I did have one question in regards to the Giants because I'm seeing a lot of hype about Tyrone Tracy and I don't get it.
I think Brian, you can go first. If you have anything about that.
Running back by committee. He seemed pretty good in college. It's one of those things. A better offensive line will help him out.
Yeah, I just think that I think Singletary is going to be the guy. I don't know if it'll be much of a committee.
Nope.
That's Dayball's guy. I don't know if he's going to let up on that role.
He better not. I swear to Bob, if Singletary's getting 20 carries, I'm gonna be pissed. You have 3 running backs, and I'm saying this because when I bring up names like a Tyrone Tracy, right, and Eric Gray, I think we can all agree that the average fans like, who are those guys? They may have heard of Singletary. I think the hype behind Tracy. Oh, I know the hype behind Tracy is that he was converted wide receiver to running back his first.
He can catch the ball. That's his strength for sure.
And that's the special thing because he could run. He has some speed. Like he could carry the football. But sure. It's the idea is that I want the Giants to sling it. I'm tired of this whole running game crap we've been running for like the past 4 or 5 years now. Just sling the ball. Jones has slung it to Neighbors in camp. He's slung it to Hyatt in camp as well. Robinson has been a phenomenal slot receiver in camp as well so far. Expecting big things from him, by the way. And Tyrone Tracy, he just fits what I personally want to see. To be a converted receiver to running back, and he's a dual threat guy that may not. Like you just mentioned, right? Singletary is going to be the main guy. I do think Tracy's snaps will pick up. I feel like around midseason because he's just that talented.
I would think because I like Eric Gray too. I liked him coming.
Me too. Yeah.
Love Eric Gray.
And I really think the pecking chart is Singletary, Gray, then Tracy.
I feel
personally.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like Tracy's an older prospect. Yeah, he can catch the ball. But like Eric Gray was really good at Oklahoma. Like I don't know. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole on that.
I think it's be a position battle. I think that RB2 is wide open. Whoever performs well in the preseason will get it.
Yeah. I just think with Singletary and that previous chemistry he has with Daboll, we can't take that for granted. And I forgot how much you guys are paying him, but it's more
cheap. It's cheap.
I mean, it's like $5 million or something. That's a lot of money for a running back.
Good. Less than what we Saquon got.
Yeah.
Saquon got 14. Like, he's one of the highest paid running backs of all time. Like,
same production. They got the same amount of yards last year, basically. Same yards per carry. I think Singletary was better by like a yard. So, who cares? I don't miss 16. You have any thoughts on this, bro? Nothing?
I do not.
Oh, of course.
I'm out the loop.
I know what you're ready for. But yeah, great question, Easy. I appreciate you. I noticed you guys' headlines on the bottom, or whatever you want to call them. 0 running back strategy is risky.
It is. It's risky.
It's very risky. The running backs this year, there's a lot of strong ones, but there's a lot of a la David Singletary. If he's like your RB1, RB2, it's a little risky. Zach Moss is a little risky. You know, those are some of those 0 running back targets. I've always been a fan of receiver has a ton of depth. You will always find 1,000-yard receivers. You can wait on them and get elite quarterback, elite running back. But I digress.
All right. Well,
just for the people.
From a fantasy standpoint, we'll make sure 16 isn't here because I know 16 was like, fantasy. I was looking at you the whole time.
16 didn't even know what that meant until we started talking about it. So there you go.
You're learning.
They tried. I tried to give them a chance last year, Nate. We made a bet on some game last year. I said, look, man, if whoever wins, I'll play fantasy. And they didn't win, so I didn't play. So that was the deal there if they won the game. So I tried to do something, but it was not in my favor.
I got you, man. Hey, it's all good. Fantasy football. I'm in a couple leagues this year. Just some. I think one's a free one. So yeah, I don't do the whole buy-in stuff. It's like for what?
Oh,
man?
it's fun.
It's fun. And then you lose, and then you're stressing like I did last year. Okay, I forgot how much money. No, it's not fun. You're losing money. Okay, I'm not trying to lose money. I'm gonna be like 16 this year. Watch, I'll do free leagues if anything.
Shut it out.
Yeah, and I'll go 0 running backs too. I'll go 0 running backs too. I ain't scared. No, I'm just playing. I'm scared.
Okay. When J.K. Dobbins is a key starter for it, I don't want to hear nothing.
Perfect. Nope. I love J.K. Dobbins. No, I don't. Man, the Chargers,
I have fun with that.
The Chargers are the new Ravens, man. The amount of Ravens they got on that team is ridiculous. But that's the AFC West. We're here talking about the AFC East. Okay, I love the East. You all love the East. I love the East. We love an NFC East team. Me and Brian do. But hey, this division is very interesting because, well, 3 of the teams will compete for a spot in the playoffs. One of them will likely not, which stinks. So we might as well start with the team that won't make it, right? In the New England Patriots. I mean,
always say that.
Hey, they had their time up top, buddy. It's our turn now, or it's everyone else's turn to dominate. But the New England Patriots, they did make one of the best moves in the offseason, which is draft a quarterback, and who better than Drake May to lead the way? But he might not even start because they have Jacoby Brissett, who looks to take over as the QB1 for the 2024 season, at least to start the year per se. I don't know if they're gonna play Drake May at all in the preseason, but we'll get more on that later on. But in terms of the offseason, the Patriots had look, Bill Belichick is gone after a 4-13 season last year. They added Jacoby Brissett, Antonio Gibson, KJ Osborne, Austin Hooper, just to name a few guys. They drafted May along with Jalen Polk, who I like from Washington at wide receiver, Javon Baker as well from UCF. And they did lose a few guys like Mac Jones, but he's already there in Jacksonville, stinking up the joint as it is. They lost Ezekiel Elliott, no biggie, and they lost Mike Gesicki. But one big loss was J.C. Jackson and Trent Brown, cornerback and offensive tackle, to be exact, there respectively. I'll start with Brian, my guy. Your thoughts on the Patriots, do you expect anything from them this year at all? I mean, it's a pretty. Their best players are Ramondre Stevenson, and it's like they don't really have anything else on the offensive side.
No, this season revolves around two things. One, getting away from Mac Jones and making Drake May the best NFL quarterback you can make him, all right? Whether that's sitting the entire season, getting in like around week 11, week 12, and playing out that final stretch, that should be. It should be development. The second point is getting away from Bill Belichick and letting Gerard Mayo develop his own sort of there. Get away from the Patriots way that Belichick built it and let Gerard Mayo establish his culture, how he wants the team to be.
Fair enough. All right, we'll start with 16-16. Let's think about it, man. I mean, this Patriots team isn't the same like they used to be. Very, uncertain quarterback situation over there in New England. Do you feel like it's a good idea to put Brissett in to start, or do you feel like May should just get the reins from day one?
Well, it depends on how people are feeling about the expectations for him. Like, I mean, you said it right from the beginning, Nate. You were like, yeah, they're probably not going to make it, and they're not going to just based on what's going on. So if you want to let Brissett get in there to start the season off, I don't feel like that's necessarily a bad thing. But the thing is that nothing screams like our season isn't going anywhere. You're not even going to be in the hunt as if Brissett's your quarterback. So throw the young guy out there from jump, man. Let him get his trial by fire. Why even try to mask it like you're going to contend? Put him out there and see what happens, man. You got a new coach, new quarterback. You got to see what you got. And then if he gets hurt, you got the veteran to go to. So that's how I'm looking at it. You're not going anywhere. Put the young guy out there, man.
Amen. Speaking of running backs, easy. I want to go to you. Ramondre Stevenson signed an extension with the Patriots this offseason. He is the clear RB1, although they did bring in Antonio Gibson for no reason whatsoever. Do you expect him, I guess, from a fantasy standpoint? This is be one of a few fantasy questions I ask you because I trust you. Do you expect Stevenson to be a someone that to draft in the mid rounds, or should you just kind of stay away from Stevenson in fantasy drafts?
Yeah, I think Stevenson is definitely someone you should target. I don't know if he's gonna be the guy though. I think anytime you go get a running back and you're paying him, because I think Antonio Gibson got a 3-year, $24 million deal. So you're looking at $8 million annually. They're gonna find a role for him. And what I'm concerned about with Stevenson is that I don't think you shouldn't draft him, but I don't know if he should be going as high as what people are saying. Mm-hmm. I think Gibson's going to eat into those pass catches. We just talked about Tyrone Tracy. He's a former receiver, went to Memphis, was really known for his pass catching skills, showed a lot of that in Washington when he did play before he kind of fell out of favor. I think when you're paying a running back like that, you're going to use him or try to use him and get your investment, your money back, right? So I think that is definitely something to watch out for. I mean, obviously Ramondre got paid too, and he's definitely the better player. But when you're going after somebody like that, whether it's a backup or not, they could have a role. I will say this, to 16's point, Drake May, you're not going anywhere. Just go ahead and put Drake May in there. Let him learn. You got all these young weapons. You got Polk. You got Pop Douglas. You got Javon Baker. You got all these young guys. Go ahead and let them build that chemistry. Let them learn together and get in sync. I'm going to be way higher on Ramondre if Drake May's in there, because that's going to be a nice safety blanket for him, good check down guy. That could really benefit this offense. But to me, like 16 said, and I agree with everything he just said, you starting Jacoby Brissett, you know what Jacoby Brissett is. We've all seen his career, right? If he's your backup, you feel really good about that. If your guy goes down, you know that you can still be competitive in games. I think about the Saints when they had Teddy Bridgewater. I felt very confident about him stepping in for Drew because he's done it. He's got that experience. But if you're starting him out as your starter, it's number one, it doesn't look good. Number two, you just spent a top 3 pick on a quarterback, and you're telling your fans in the NFL that he's not ready to start. Then why'd you draft him? Mm-hmm. When you could have go get a guy like Neighbors or some of these other guys that are more pro ready, per se. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I mean, you gotta like their weapons. I'm sure Patriots fans were tired of seeing Kendrick Bourne, and I know Juju Smith-Schuster's still there. So surely Jalen Polk and a healthy Ramondre Stevenson and Javon Baker and Pop Douglas, maybe that brings a nice little youth movement there, like Brian mentioned. Gerard Mayo's kind of bringing in his guys. He's changing the culture. Maybe that's what they need to kind of start building something, but I don't think it'll be this year.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Mayo, he was brought in as the head coach this offseason. He was already on the Patriots staff with Belichick, but when Belichick left, they decided to go in-house instead of going somewhere else for a head coach. So our thoughts on Mayo, is he a good fit, or do you feel like he's going to be a good fit? And is this the end of the Patriots way? Like things will kind of, in a way, lighten up a little bit. Things were always so serious in New England. Do you guys feel things will lighten up? We'll start with Easy and then work our way back to Brian.
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't know if they would, like with the Mayo hire. Are you trying to get away from the Patriot way? Because it's like you hired a Bill Belichick disciple. Like, obviously, he's going to put his own spin on things, and hopefully, he does things differently. But I mean, there were rumors out there that when he re-signed as an assistant coach, that basically he was kind of guaranteed the job whenever Bill Belichick left. So I guess it was smart to have that succession plan in place. But I mean, it's one of those things. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Like I think about the Saints, right? Our team, we didn't really look outside to replace Sean Payton. We felt like Dennis Allen was the right guy, and we haven't really seen much change. So it's kind of one of those things. It's not an exact science. No, we won't really know until we start seeing it happen.
Okay. 16, what are your thoughts on Mayo, good sir?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to kind of piggyback on what my brother was saying, that, they went in-house, which is something that the Saints did because they had Allen, who was already there, who was kind of acclimated. And I feel like, knowing what I know now, if a towering head coach, a champion like that is there, you should probably go in the opposite direction and totally just start all over again instead of having remnants of that. We're dealing with those issues now because we're holding on to those last pieces of the Sean Payton era when we really should have just cleaned house. So they may feel the ripple effects of someone who came from that tree during this. I'm not going to say he's going to necessarily flop, but chances are they're going to need to get somebody on the outside to really start contending again. So this might be a good stopgap for 2 or 3 years, but long term, it might not be the answer.
Fair enough. Brian, finish us off.
Yeah, no, I agree with both 16 and Easy. I think they definitely should have gone outside hire. I don't think it's smart to keep the Belichick remnants around. To play devil's advocate, the only benefit I give to Mayo is that he's a former player, so maybe he can figure out a way to adapt the Patriots way to a more modern player, because that is what the biggest problem with Belichick was. He lost that connection to the players. Maybe Mayo, knowing how these players think, how they talk, how they act, he'll be able to connect with them in a way Belichick wasn't able to.
Gotcha. Well, for Mayo, he does inherit, he was a defensive star for New England back in his playing days, and he inherits a defense that includes Christian Gonzalez, who comes back after getting hurt after just 4 games last year. Jabril Peppers came back on an extension as well. And then Matthew Judon, that situation is a bit messy for New England, but it's all good as Christian Barmore returns with an extension of his own, a $92 million contract to be exact for Mr. Barmore.
And with Mayo, I mean, he's only been coached under like the 2 best ever, right? So surely he's learned something from Nick Saban.
You would hope.
Yeah. Because what did Mayo go to Alabama?
I believe he did.
Or maybe it was Florida. I knew it was SEC, but I think
he was an Alabama guy.
It was actually Tennessee.
Oh, well, I was way off then. Never mind.
Close enough. SEC, same thing.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought he was an Alabama guy, but I know they had a few of those Alabama linebackers on the team, like with Hightower and all that. So
yeah, I'm sure he's talked with Saban, because Belichick and Saban.
Yeah, maybe he was there when Lane Kiffin was there. Lane Kiffin knows what he's doing.
Yeah, there you go. Schedule wise for the Patriots doesn't look very promising, as their first 7 of their 8 games include the Bengals, Jets, Niners, Dolphins, Texans, Jaguars, and the Jets again. So, in my opinion, folks, for the season, we'll go around quickly. Just a rough estimate of your record prediction here. I'm gonna go with a simple 4-13. I feel like Brissett will not do so well early at the gate, which will let the Patriots turn to May. And even that, though, the underwhelming receiving core will hurt, and the defense can only do so much. So I'm gonna go 4-13 for the Patriots. We'll start with Brian. Brian, what is your record prediction for the New England Patriots?
I think they'll go 5-12. I think Drake May will come in around week 11 and 12 and kind of infuse some excitement into the team, and they'll, win a few games they're not supposed to.
Okay. 16 record prediction for the Patriots.
Yeah, I agree with Brian. They're gonna be 5-12, but it's not gonna be like this sad 5-12. I feel like they're gonna be in every game. Like they're gonna fight. So nobody's gonna be really blowing them out like that. They're gonna be this pesky team that's like learning how to win. So 5-12, and they're gonna like will themselves to 2 wins that they shouldn't get in those 5.
Okay. And then Easy, finish us off with the Patriots, good sir.
Yeah, I hate to agree with the group here, but I was thinking like if they get 5 wins, that's like a good season for them. So I'd say about 5 or 6 wins for sure.
Fair enough. All right. So we all have them with losing records. The Patriots, we have a comment from Kevin here saying you hope Drake May is ready to start, but don't force it if he's not ready. Yeah, fair enough. I think we can all agree that if he's not ready, just let Brissett play. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a lost season regardless. So
yeah, but you don't draft a guy and not think he's ready. Like them
days of sitting a guy like when back in the day. I'm about to date myself.
Like
when Carson Palmer,
Trubisky, right? Yeah. Like, no, I wouldn't hype about him coming out, but the Bears threw him out there and was like, "Hey, we got to roll with it." Like,
gotta see.
I feel like if you're not starting them right away, you're already kind of admitting a mistake, and there've already been like bad press around him, like, which I think is BS. But like Joe Milton might be better than him, and like, what are we doing? Like, Joe Milton was a 6th round pick for a reason, bro. Like, let's stop. Let's pump the brakes.
They found the next Tom Brady. Oh no! Like,
like, nah, man.
Like, calm down.
They say Joe Milton Brady again.
College, right? Calm down.
Hey, man, you like Joe Milton, one of those guys. Like, you watch his highlights, and you're like, golly, he's got a great arm. He's throwing these go routes, these nines. Man, there's a reason he went in the 6th round, man. Like, let's pump the brakes.
There's some flaws. And May is a super smart prospect. We have seen it on Hard Knocks. Brian, we talked about this before. Super smart guy. Dable loved the guy. Just his ability to break down plays and everything like that. So the whole Milton stuff is ridiculous. So, hey, I mean, if Milton balls out in the preseason, yeah, there's some, conversation worth having. But as of right now, no one expects that to be the case. So we'll move on from the Patriots, who will likely finish in last place in the division. All right, let's go with our neighbors, Brian, the New York Jets, who should have Aaron Rodgers back for more than 4 plays here in 2024. The Jets did make a few additions this offseason as well, including Tyrod Taylor, our former Giant quarterback, Mike Williams, who I like as well, Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses on the offensive line, John Simpson at guard, Hassan Reddick, who has yet to appear in camp or sign any sort of, he's just not appearing in camp, plus the whole contract stuff's a mess. Javon Kinlaw comes from the Niners. The draft picks include Oli Fashanu from Penn State, Malachi Corley from, I believe, Western Kentucky,
yes.
Yes, sir. And Braylon Allen, the running back from Wisconsin. They lost a few guys like C.J. Uzomah at tight end, Laken Tomlinson at guard, Connor McGovern at center, and defensive end Bryce Huff. Last year, the Jets, let's face it, guys, they had Super Bowl aspirations, but that went straight out the window on Monday night, week 1, when Aaron Rodgers went down with that injury on that sack by Leonard Floyd, who he'll also face again in week 1 when they play the 49ers, because Leonard Floyd's on the 49ers, but I digress. Yeah, I think this Jets team, I mean, you have a great offense. Breece Hall, for some reason, we'll get to the fantasy perspective with you, Easy, in just a bit. But Brian, with Rodgers back, do you feel like the playoffs are within reach again for this Jets team? Or do you feel like they'll still kind of be just that mediocre Jets team that we're used to seeing?
I just want to say before we get to it that Leonard Floyd and Aaron Rodgers' Achilles have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever, which
Stop
is
it.
do it again on Monday Night Football.
Like,
Jet fans are panicking about that right now.
Brian,
Absolutely panicking.
you on to something because he's still a good player, and I don't know how the hell the Niners got him. Like that is an abundance of riches right there. You on to something.
But it all depends on if Aaron Rodgers can bounce back. Like, we all are used to Rodgers being the MVP quarterback, but he is 41 and coming off a major knee surgery. So if Rodgers can get back to even like 75% of that former quarterback, the Jets are definitely in this hunt for the division and definitely a wild card spot. But if Rodgers struggles, it's another lost year in New York. And then at that point, it's time to start questioning Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Rodgers is going to be 41 during the season this year, and technically,
not everyone's Brady.
Yeah,
not everyone can play past 40,
and that's the thing because he hasn't played in like 2 years, basically. Rodgers hasn't, so we don't know how effective he will be. I think me and you can agree that they should have drafted Brock Bowers at number 11 to give Rodgers another weapon, but they went with Fashanu, which is not a bad pick. It's just the idea that the more weapons, the better for Rodgers to throw to. But they did bring in Mike Williams. They brought in Garrett Wilson. They brought in Corley, the rookie, in the 3rd round. Comparisons to Deebo Samuel, Corley has been given. So, I mean, this Jets offense looks solid, I think. Offensive line wise, they kind of fix that a lot with Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, Fashanu as well, if he ends up starting at some point in the season, and Elijah Vera Tucker, who needs to stay healthy, but he's basically hurt all the time. And Mekhi Becton is he's gone now. He's with the Eagles, which is weird.
Speaking of hurt all the time.
And he still sucks.
Yeah, speaking of hurt all the time, he's just...
yeah. Imagine drafting offensive linemen in a fantasy draft. But anyways, 16, I want to ask about the defense because they're led by a solid guy in Sauce Gardner. And, this Jets team, they have some pieces, man. Bryce Huff, Jermaine Johnson, Javon Kinlaw is from the Niners. He's coming over here as well. Your thoughts on this Jets defense, who definitely has a chance to be one of the best top 5 defenses in the league?
Well, it became a strength of the team when Rodgers went down. It was like, well, what else we got? We might as well just try and stop people. But they didn't just – see, the thing is that they still remained, competitive. They were still in games. So that lets you know that around what they had when you start talking about offense, they had pieces in place. Like, this could have been a good team, and they still can be a good team. And you can copy and paste what I'm about to say with most any team is that if they could stop the run, they can get a pass rush going where they don't have to blitz. You get that pass rush with 4 guys, man, that travels everywhere. You can be in the game with anybody if you can get that pressure. Come on, Nate and Brian, y'all know about that. Y'all had the 2 Super Bowls where y'all weren't blitzing. You were able to get pressure on that quarterback with 4 guys.
He crumbles.
And when you can do that, you have the half of the elixir to win a Super Bowl because you got that quarterback thinking about it back there. So that's going to be the key for them, man. If they can get pressure without having to blitz and keep them in games, this could be a good team. And when I say good, I don't mean necessarily they need to be considering Super Bowl, but this is a team that could be more than in the hunt if things fall their way.
Fair enough. You brought up a good point with pressure. Last year, the Jets were 4th in pressure rate, thanks to Quinnen Williams and whatnot. And like I mentioned, Javon Kinlaw is here. Lecky Fotu is another guy as well to look out for on the defense. And at the edge, you have Bryce Huff and Jermaine Johnson. I like him a lot. He's a young second-year prospect.
Linebackers are really good too. You got C.J. Mosley, you got Quincy Williams. They got an elite player at every level, which, to 16's point, that's what you're looking for in the defense.
Off the top of your head, because you're a stats guy, what was their point differential? Because that'll also tell you where a team is too. Where if you're looking at their point diff, man, and that thing is not too topsy-turvy, you might be if you're a team that was your record was kind of iffy, but your point differential is pretty good, you're trending in the right direction. So hopefully I won't mention that stat and then look like a fool because they're 200 points in the red. But if their point differential is near or about,
yeah, I mean it's around minus 87 according to StatMuse.com. That's what their point differential was last season. So it's not a bad differential considering the offense was as bad as it was, but
and they did have some games where they got blew out, so that probably inflated it some.
Yeah,
Like
but if
the
you start
defense
getting
can
close
lose
to
so much.
even with that, yeah, you're gonna be okay. So it seems like they're in a direction where they could, a couple of those blowout losses turn into wins, and they could end up being that 10-7, 9-8 type team that's pesky a little bit.
Amen. My mistake there. I meant to say Hassan Reddick, not Bryce Huff, as the edge rushers on the outside, because Huff is with the Eagles now because they swapped. But from a fantasy perspective, we'll go to easy here. I have a question. Because for some reason, why
he loves this.
I know he does. I 16. I know. That's why.
Hey, to be fair though, I know ball and fantasy, so I'm an expert in both. I have both degrees. Check the records. There are none, but just roll with me. Let me cook.
Fair enough. I'll let you cook with Breece Hall, because for some reason he's getting chosen really high in drafts. From what I've researched on and stuff like that. But that's the thing, because I understand Rodgers is bad, the offensive line is fixed, but we have Breece Hall isn't like a guy you think of when it comes to top 5 running backs. You think of a Derrick Henry, you think of a Christian McCaffrey, and guys like that. Why is Hall being picked so high this year?
Well, like we talked about, the running back position it's not deep, right? So Breece Hall is he's got a few things. He's in a good offense. Number one, it's not going to be one dimensional. If a healthy Aaron Rodgers is in there for all 17 games, he's going to have some running lanes to go through. Let's look at the talent profile. He was the first running back selected 2 years ago out of Iowa State. He's a damn good player, had a really good prospect profile coming out. And I mean, before he got hurt 2 years ago, he was lighting the world on fire. Like, we were talking about some of these games before Aaron Rodgers got here. So this was 2022. He was lighting the world on fire. They ran the offense through him, and he was carrying the team on his back before he got hurt. So you got to think about now, you got a healthy Aaron Rodgers. You got Garrett Wilson. You mentioned Mike Williams, who I think will start. But I think Corley might get in there and probably take that job when Mike Williams eventually gets hurt. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You got some playmakers. So it's not like you can scheme to stop Breece Hall. It's like you got to worry about these other folks on the offense. So he's going high because, behind Christian McCaffrey, who's great, there's some injury concerns with him. He's already got a calf issue coming out of camp.
Madden curse, but go on.
Say it again.
I was gonna say Madden curse, but
which is that's facts. We don't want to talk about looking up stuff. That's facts. Kyron Williams is another guy that comes up, but he had injury issues last year. You got Blake Corum, who the Rams drafted. So when you start looking at some of the top running backs, and I'm gonna not mention some because I'm probably not thinking off the top of my head, but you got some of these guys, he's in a good spot. He's going to be the guy. Yeah, they got Braylon Allen, but I don't know if Braylon Allen's going to necessarily have a role like what we talked about with Antonio Gibson, because I don't know if Braylon Allen is not he's not developed yet in the passing game, right? He came from Wisconsin, where they're a downhill team. They run the ball. You're going to get 30 carries a game, smash mouth. I don't know if he does anything that Breece Hall can't do. So that's why he's going high, because, I mean, would you want Breece Hall, or do you want somebody down the line like a Joe Mixon or Alvin Kamara? That's what you're kind of looking at when you're looking at the landscape of things. Do you go ahead and get a guy like Breece Hall early, or do you wait for a guy like Kamara or Joe Mixon or some of these other guys?
Mm-hmm. I think based off injury risk alone, let's be honest. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the first running back off the board is Derrick Henry, because that guy has yet to, miss games like a McCaffrey has in the past, like a Kyron Williams has recently done, like the risk that Breece Hall brings as well with the injury risk. And I think, and I say that because I'm not saying for, you guys should draft Derrick Henry, in the first round. I'm just saying in terms from a value perspective, maybe Breece Hall isn't worth the first round fantasy projection. And that's just, what I'm saying. Obviously, I may be wrong on that, but I think
I think too, to your point, Nate, you got to look at the type of format that you're in too. Obviously in a redraft league, he shouldn't be going high. There's some guys, like you said, like Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, CMC. Those are some guys that should probably go ahead of Breece Hall. I think in Dynasty, though, he's going super high because of his age and because of the long-term outlook. So I think it depends on the format. But I think to your point in redraft, I don't know if he's worthy of a first-round pick. I think late second round is where you would start looking at somebody like him. Because, I'm just looking at a board right now, but I would take Gibbs over him. I would take CMC over him, Bijan Robinson over him. Travis Etienne's another guy that I would probably consider over him. But then it starts getting okay, there's some guys that could go either way, one or the other. Also, and since we're just talking about it, I have some sleep. Malachi Corley is definitely a sleeper in fantasy. I saw Kevin's comment that Wilson's going to have a great year. I think so too. Obviously, he performs no matter who the quarterback is, but that volume, I think that's what we're waiting for him. But I think Malachi Corley is an absolute steal in the third round. Gadget guy. I know a lot of comps to Deebo Samuel. I don't know if that's a fair comp, but he's a guy that you want to call him a weapon. He's not a wide receiver. You want to just get him the ball and let him do his thing. So I would definitely be watching out for him in the preseason and see how they utilize him.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I want to say to wrap things up before we get to our record prediction, this, we all say for all of our teams, right, that, as long as we stay healthy, we should be fine. I think the Jets are the most perfect team to be described when it comes to that, because you have such a bunch of injury-riddled guys. You have a Rodgers who just got hurt last year. You have Mike Williams who struggled with injuries in his career so far. Elijah Vera Tucker, we just discussed him on the offensive line. He's been hurt a lot as well. Breece Hall, right? We just talked about him. That's why they drafted guys behind him like a Braylon Allen and stuff like that. So I think for the Jets, that's the most scary thing is injuries, because if injuries happen to any one of those guys, things could just turn 360 in a hurry.
For sure. And I think too that conference is just loaded. I just wrote down some teams, and I know, Brian, you're about to give your thoughts here too, but Texans, Bengals, Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Miami, Chargers, Browns, Steelers, then the Jets. They're going to need some help to even make the playoffs, in my opinion. So that's something to watch out for too. Does 9-10 wins even get you in the playoffs in the AFC? I don't know. It's going to be tough.
I don't think so. I think you get 11.
There you go. I mean, the AFC North is one division that we'll discuss in the future, but, they sent 3 teams to the postseason last year. So, I mean, if the Jets can compete and get around the 10-11 win mark, we should be okay. But overall, in terms of record prediction, we'll get to that right now. I see you mentioned a few teams that are ahead of the Jets in terms of where you have them easy. But in terms of their schedule, they have a third-place schedule, which is, thankfully they were bad last year, so they can
Commanders in Carolina. Well, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at preseason. But,
no worries. But after week 2, they had the Titans, the Patriots, the Broncos, and the Vikings. So that's kind of I could see them going 4-1 to start the year. I really could. But after that, it does get a little risky. So in terms of record prediction, I would go. I think they'll pull it off. I think they will go a good 10-7. They will make the postseason, but as a 7th seed in the AFC. So just barely getting in, which is all you need when you have Aaron Rodgers. Brian, we'll go to you, my guy. How do you have the Jets performing here in 2024?
Same way. I'm 10-7, second in the AFC East, and sneaking that 7th spot.
Okay. 16. Where we got the Jets?
9-8.
9-8.
A competitive 9-8 where they're fighting. They're in that graphic that I hate. You learned this about me, Nate. They're in that damn in the hunt category all year where, that bull. That's the Jets.
Hey, for teams like the Giants, we love that graphic. That just gives us confidence.
It drives me insane. My brother has been on the business end of those rants. Look at us in this stupid in the hunt category. We ain't going nowhere. But yeah, the Jets will be in the in the hunt category.
Hey,
there you go.
Woohoo! Easy. Where we have the Jets finishing, my guy.
I'm right there with 16. I think you're looking at about 9-10 wins. I think 11 would be a really great year for them, but 2 games against Buffalo, 2 games against Miami. I see like you said, the 49ers on the schedule, Rams on the schedule. It's gonna be some tough games in there.
Just for the record, the Rams aren't scary. I'm just saying.
I don't know, man. I mean,
I do.
Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams. Hey,
they got a scary offense.
Sean McVay knows what he's doing, man. So,
Kyron Williams is hurt. Puka is in his sophomore year, so I expect a slump. Cooper Kupp gets hurt. Matthew Stafford's old. Yeah, and this. All right, can you all name 5 guys on the defense?
On the Jets defense or the Rams?
The Rams defense.
Okay, you on some 16 stuff right now with the naming people. But
no, 16. Don't you even do it. You can't.
No. I'm saying 16 does this with artists.
I'll pull this on somebody. Like when we're talking hip hop on the show, and somebody be like, "Oh, I like this rapper. Like I'm a big Nas fan. Like, oh, you like Nas? Huh? Name 3 Nas songs," and it's like crickets. So yeah.
Okay, I know they got Verse. I know they got that kid from Florida, Verse.
Okay.
I can't think of his teammate's name to save my life because he went second round.
Oh.
Ernest Jones is really good. He's going to be a really good player for them. And you got me after that because Aaron Donald's retired, and I don't know anybody in the secondary like that. So there you go.
Well, look, when we bring you guys back for the NFC West preview in a few weeks, we'll see if we can.
I'll take a look at their roster before
10 minutes before the show. All right, so they got this.
I know the offense though. I love me some Puka, Kyron, Cooper Kupp, comeback season. Yeah,
fair enough. All righty, we'll go from the Jets to the Miami Dolphins, who recently got Tua back on an extension. Yay! And Tyreek Hill was voted as the best player in the NFL, which makes no sense because there's other guys like, Christian McCaffrey or Patrick Mahomes. But hey, Tyreek, all the glory to you, buddy. Dolphins finished 11-6 last year, was embarrassed in the playoffs because they came in playing the cold, which is sad. I understand why, because they play in Miami, but come on, guys, just put up a fight. It's just because it's cold doesn't mean anything.
I mean, anyway. Let's be fair. Like, they were keeping beer in the fridge to keep it warm at that playoff game.
Yeah, but you guys are
I'll give it a little slack. Like, it was obnoxiously cold.
They'll figure it out, man. They're an NFL team, man. You have Tua, you have Tyreek, you have Waddle, and they stunk up the joint. But it's fine. At least they made the playoffs, unlike some teams like our Giants. But I digress. At one point, the Dolphins last year were the best team in the NFL. Tua was in the MVP conversation. Tyreek was as well. And then they struggled late in the year because of injuries, and they finished 11-6, and they lost to the Chiefs in the wild card round. Yada, yada, yada. So what they did in the offseason, I'll tell you. They added a few guys like Jonnu Smith at tight end, Aaron Brewer at center, Calais Campbell, the old guy, at defensive tackle. They added.
Keep getting them checks, bro. Keep getting them checks.
He's old, though. I don't know how much gas he's got in him.
He's got to be 39 at this point.
He's old, dude. That's all I know. He's approaching 40. That's what I know for sure. They added other guys as well as Shaq Barrett on the outside at linebacker, Jordan Brooks, who I know as well from Seattle, and then Jordan Poyer, the veteran safety who comes from the Buffalo Bills. In the draft, they added a few guys like a Chop Robinson from Penn State, Jalen Wright, the speedster running back from Tennessee, Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State, who I'm a big fan of. I saw him play against Colorado. He was a solid guy as well. Off-season losses, nothing too notable.
You're forgetting an addition, a big addition.
If you're about to say OBJ, then let's not.
No, Brian, I swear to God.
We are a Giants podcast.
Yeah. And I'm an LSU guy, but let's not do that. I don't even know if he's gonna be the wide receiver 3 coming out of camp, but I know
we probably
a hashtag.
It's very funny. He's there now.
I do miss him. I miss him more than I miss Saquon because Odell didn't leave us. Our management team was stupid to trade him to Cleveland so he could die. And then he found himself again in Los Angeles and Baltimore. And now he's in Miami. What's next? I don't know. He should just go on the Chiefs.
That's about it. It's about
it.
I mean, Miami's nice until they get to the postseason and they, like I said, choke. But yeah, great catch, I guess, Brian, for bringing it up. Jesus Christ.
I had to do it.
A few offseason losses. Cedric Wilson at wide receiver, Connor Williams at center, Emmanuel Ogbah defensive end, and Christian Wilkins, who is now with the Raiders. Yeah,
that's a big loss.
That's a big loss. Oh, for sure. And Xavier Howard at corner, he was a longtime Dolphins member of the secondary, and he's gone. Oh, they lost Eli Apple too. If you guys take, no, we are so fluffing scared.
That's where we share Bond is the hate of Eli Apple.
He is so bad.
He's so bad. Oh my god.
We drafted him, and the first thing, the first red flag was his mom taking him to practice. I'm sorry, you can't. And no, I family is great. Having family involved, with your career is great. Like, I was happy as heck that my mom came to my senior night game, which I barely played because we couldn't stop him at all because I was a backup, so I didn't get any much playing time. But the point is, really, man, you're a professional guy. You're like in your 20-something, and your mom's taking you to practice. It's not funny. That's the first red flag, and he sucks. I don't know why we drafted him in the first round. Seriously,
he was great coming out. He definitely hit a Houdini on everybody for sure.
Oh yeah, and he got burnt in the next few years afterwards when he left the Giants by many wide receivers. So.
But never stop talking trash. I respect somebody so tone deaf that you keep talking trash even though you suck. And it's proven.
Yeah, that's facts too, Brian. He never stopped.
I think, Brian, when we talk about quarterbacks, right, we've talked about, there should be a kind of a limit when it comes to how much quarterbacks are being paid, because you can't just pay a mid-tier guy the highest, amount you can pay over, a guy that deserves it more. Like, for example, what I'm trying to say is, like, Joe Burrow, right? He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL when he's healthy. We've seen what he can do, but then he gets passed up by Tua Tagovailoa, who, got a big extension not too long ago. And he's, I believe, now the highest paid quarterback. No.
He was for like a hot 2 hours, and then Jordan Love topped him. So Jordan Love's now.
And he doesn't deserve it either. Once we talk about that.
I'd rather have Jordan Love than Tua, though. That's debate. We could debate that.
It's debate. That's a good debate. That definitely is a debate.
That could be
about that one.
I don't like the Tua deal at all. I know I'm not trying to get us off the talk track, but
no,
Miami might regret that deal.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
I think they will. I think Tua is propped up by his receivers.
Yeah. I think if you had a Joe Burrow or a Jordan Love throwing to those guys down in Miami. Oh my God, we've been talking about them. What game will they not win? How many wins we think they'll get to before they lose? That would be the conversation.
I got to tell you, I got to preface this. Whenever you come to me, there's a rant incoming, and you probably don't know what that's about, but you'll learn shortly.
Which would actually be the topic I want all three of us to discuss, because I think, offensively, they're, Tyreek, and they have a speedy backfield back there with Mostert and Achane and Jalen Wright and everything. Defensively, they're pretty okay as well. I mean, Jalen Phillips went down last year, but he should be healthy, ready to go for this season as well. Bradley Chubb and stuff like that. As long as they're healthy defensively, they got Shaq Barrett as well, but then he just retired. So now that I think about it, he was added, and then now he's gone.
Oh, that's breaking news. He retired.
Yeah, he retired not too long ago either. I think he was about a couple weeks ago. He said, nah, I'm good, basically. And okay, not like that, but basically he was like, I'm done.
You know. Hey,
you're on a napkin.
He's like, I'm done. But look, I think that's the best topic to discuss for Miami, and that's the whole Tua contract, because me and Brian, we talked about it before. I mean, some quarterbacks don't deserve to be the highest paid guy. I mean, hell, the Daniel Jones contract looks cheap as heck now. Look at that. He's like 15th highest paid now,
but he doesn't even deserve the money that he's getting, right?
Just wait till this season. I'm just kidding.
But to your point,
stop playing in Fantasyland.
Well, but to your point though, like the salary. The people love to say, "Oh, the salary cap's going up, and that's why people are getting paid more." That doesn't mean they're worth more.
Exactly. Amen.
You know what I'm saying? Like you look at all the quarterbacks in that draft class. You got Burrow, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, and then him. And Jalen Hurts.
They've all worked out
behind all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And they all got paid, which I think all of them deserve it. And like I said, I know people might debate the Jordan Love thing, and we'll get to that when we get to that division, but
that's a debatable one, though.
Time the GM has to go to the owner to convince him to write a check for this quarterback, you might have to consider if this is worth it. Like, the owner didn't even want to pay you. He needed to be convinced that this quarterback deserves to be paid. Like, I don't know.
That's a lot for a GM. You're putting your job on the line when you're making.
You're 100% are, 100% are you, and you have like no contingency plan, if you will. Like,
no.
There's an argument that could be made either way. Like when he, like you said, when he was healthy last year, I think he was like top 5 in passing yards. They had like the number 1 offense, but I think they could have did more. Like,
definitely, they fell off.
Yeah,
the weather kind of turned. They kind of fell off.
Yeah, I love all my fellow left-handed, athletes, but it's hard for me to defend Tua. Like, I don't know. We'll see.
So, can anyone play devil's advocate and argue the fact that he deserves this money? Anyone?
I can, and even though he doesn't, but I can, because when you look around the landscape, what's the most valuable commodity in football, in the NFL? It's the quarterback. So if you feel like you got one, you better pay him, because another team is going to pay him what you think he's not worth. So if they didn't pay Tua, some other team that thought, hey, we're a player away, let's pay this guy, and they're going to do it. They're going to. So to answer your question, is he worth the money? Well, no, hell no. But is he worth the money? Yeah. I know that's weird, but yeah. So, yeah, you'd have to pay him that because somebody else will. And you need a quarterback.
Fair enough. I think you guys mentioned health when it comes to Tua. I mean, last year was like his first full season healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Yes, you can. I think you can argue that with Love too, in terms of, when they do play all 17 games, they were pretty productive, both Tua and Love. But this is the first time for both of them, as that this is Love's first full season as a starter was last year, and this was Tua's first healthy season last year as well. So it's just the idea that we can't just look at one season and be like, okay, they deserve the big bucks, especially Tua.
Yeah, for sure. But I think look at the surrounding cast. Look at what Jordan Love was throwing to versus what Tua was throwing to. I feel like the offense was good because of Jordan Love, especially those last 8-10 games of the year, versus the offense was good because Tyreek Hill just couldn't be guarded. And if you wanted to double Tyreek Hill, okay, I'll throw it to Jalen Waddle, who is just as good. Who's not a slouch in any way, shape, or form. He's a damn good receiver in his own right.
Very underrated.
And by the way, Raheem Mostert found the youth and was running like crazy. Devon A-Chain was running 60-yard runs like it was nothing.
Yes. Come on, man. You dressing it up, man. Look, let's just call it what it is, okay? This is a cute little team that's only a regular season team, and that's it. They're gonna win you a bunch of regular season games. They might win you a division, but when it comes to they might be an okay contender in a conference that didn't have the Ravens and the Chiefs sitting out there. They're just a cute little team that's gonna win a bunch of regular season games. They're gonna play that little, offense, and it's gonna, the eventual bomb to Tyreek. This team I'm not a Dolphins fan. I'm objective, but this team, when all that hype up, they're not going anywhere, man. A good, cute little regular season team that'll win you a division, possibly. They're going to go play against a team in the playoffs that's better than them, and they're going to get beheaded, rinse, wash, repeat. End of story. That's it.
If they're in the NFC, they would have a better shot at Super Bowl. Like, throw them in the NFC, Brian. I think they can do that.
Absolutely. You put them in the NFC, I change my tone a little bit and say, hey, they could probably get through. But in the AFC, get them out of here. Get them out of here.
Matt, one of the co-hosts of the Corner Booth podcast that I'm a part of every Thursday. Appreciate him stopping by. Someone said underrated receiver enters Garrett Wilson.
I don't know, man. Depending on who you talk to, Garrett Wilson might be overrated with some of the hype.
Says who?
What's up with some of the hype? Because a lot of people are putting these they're thinking he's gonna have like Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb type numbers this year, and it's like, well, if he don't reach that,
yeah, whoa, Justin I don't know who those. Hey, those people might want to come on here and to tell me their reasoning.
Hey, all on fantasy Twitter, bro. That's what they're saying. But he's definitely underrated to an extent. But at the same time, it's like we know how good he is. He just needs to have somebody like Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball for 17 games, so we can see what that looks like.
As long as those fantasy experts that are saying that Wilson is overrated isn't you, I think we'll be fine because I trust.
No. I don't think.
I trust you.
Yeah. I don't think he's overrated, but I think that we might need to just let him play ball and see what happens.
Great point by Matt right there. With Zach Wilson, Trevor.
That's what I'm saying.
Tim Boyle.
Woo!
With that list right there, nothing says that your quarterback that you had on Madden retired, and that's all you could get in the free agency afterwards.
No.
That's what that was.
And to that point, and to Matt's point, what is he going to look like with 17 games of Aaron Rodgers?
Woo.
It's going to be nice. I can't wait to see what happens with it. Like, I think he has a chance to be a very elite wide receiver for a long time. I mean, hell, I think he would have been okay with just Joe Flacco throwing him the ball for 17 games. Because what was it? Those first 2 games he started for the Jets, like, man, he was balling out. So
I hope it's okay. It's a okay site magic wand, and then absolute magic wand. Definitely for Mr. Wilson. So we'll see what the Jets do with that. But in terms of underrated receiver, I think personally he's one of them. But overall, Miami, folks, despite the fact that they paid their quarterback money that they shouldn't have because he's not that great, we still have to do record predictions. And like 16 said, this is a regular season team. But in my opinion, I think we can all agree they're gonna be okay in the playoffs if they're the number 1 seed, which they're not, and they're not going to the division because, well, like I said, they're not going to. I have the Dolphins finishing at a cool, also 10-7. I do think the Jets and the Dolphins will have the same record, but the Jets will win the tiebreaker over them. But I just, Miami, I just feel like something bad's gonna happen injury-wise, whether it's a Tua or a Tyreek, because Tyreek's already pushing 30. So how, good can you be at that age, especially because of you're known for speed? You know what I'm saying? I'm not doubting his speed or anything, but I'm just saying, you might have a little drop off there. So in general, I think Miami, to me, will be 10-7. Brian, how do you have the Dolphins finishing?
Yep, I'm going 11-6. I think they'll win the AFC East and then lose in the first round of playoffs like always.
Okay. 16, what we got?
Yeah, I mean, I know I talked about them being overrated and all that stuff, and they are a regular season team, and this is the regular season we're talking about. So it's an 11-win team that's going to be in the regular season. And same thing with Brian, I got to agree. Wherever they end up, they're not going to be the number 1 seed. So whatever weekend they end up on wild card weekend, whether they home or road, they're going home. That's it.
Another one and done.
Fair enough. And then easy to finish us off with the Miami Dolphins.
I see 10-11 wins for them. Not because of Tua. I really like Mike McDaniel. I think he's a good coach. If we play devil's advocate here, this isn't gospel, but if we're playing devil's advocate, who's to say that these playoff failures are not what fuels a playoff run? You've learned from your mistakes. You've got beaten on the road. You've done all these great things in the regular season. Could this be the year you put it all together? I mean, you never know. I like Mike McDaniel. I think he's done nothing but great things for that franchise. You never know. But I'd say 10 or 11 wins, but I don't know if they'll make a deep playoff run. But
I mean,
to their bumps and bruises.
When you talk about the 2011 Giants, the first thing everyone mentions is the Miracle of the Meadowlands 2.0. That was the season before.
True. I'm just saying they should just go practice in like Alaska. Just practice in the cold. Get used to it. That way when the time comes.
Hell, you got to go to New England, New York, and Buffalo. You got to go there 3 times a year. You just got to hope it's, later on in the year. That's your practice. That's the reps. Like, I don't know. Well, matter of fact, we can look at the schedule. It doesn't have an ad on here. Never mind.
I think so.
And I never know if the top team's home or whatever.
They're in Buffalo in November.
Okay, there you go. It's gonna be cold.
New York in January.
Cold.
They're in New England in October.
Okay. What about Buffalo?
November.
Oh, Oh yeah, no, get used to it. Well, that's just 3 games
They're
though.
playing
So.
the Browns. They're in Cleveland in December.
Cold.
Full games in there. They have 4.
They
4
just getting
full
prepared
games.
for where they're gonna go to lose on Wild Card Weekend. No
Exactly.
big deal.
Yeah. Warm them up.
Just a warm up to losing the playoffs.
Did Miami lose first week of the playoffs, or did they have a home game first?
Nah, they lost in the.
Yes, because Buffalo, they lost to Buffalo.
Man,
Yeah. I got you.
As this franchise has not won a playoff game since before Nate was year 2000 was the last time they won a playoff game, man. 2000.
Wow.
Just saying.
That's when you know you're bad.
The Lions held that record for the longest, right? So now it's Miami.
Wow. Miami's turn. Maybe they're the next team to break it. They may be the next team to break it. Who knows? Seriously.
I don't know. I like Mike McDaniel like I like Dan Campbell. So we'll see.
True. All right, folks. Finally, we have the Buffalo Bills. Our man Josh Allen has found a soulmate in Haley Steinfeld. Brian, I know you know who she is. Yes, very nice. Congratulations, Mr. Allen. Woohoo! 16, easy. I'm sure you guys know of Haley Steinfeld as well, if not mistaken. The singer. No,
we'll hit up the Googles.
You hip hop guys.
Hit up the Google.
Darn it! 16. We talked about music yesterday.
I know we did, but we're a hip hop show. We don't focus too much on the.
I approve. I approve. Good job, Josh Allen. Good job.
Very nice. Congrats to Mr. Allen.
Okay, this is motivation. I get it. All right.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. I would want to win for that.
He lost a good guy in Stephon Diggs, but he gained a soulmate in Mrs.
Yeah.
Seinfeld,
So even when he loses, he's still gonna win. Google Haley
Question:
Steinfeld.
Josh Allen. Would you rather
he has a new
Diggs
soulmate though. He has a new soulmate on the field.
Yes. I would take Steinfeld all day, Brian. I tell you that much, buddy. But for the Buffalo Bills, in all seriousness, they did lose Mr. Diggs in a trade with the Houston Texans. However, they did add some reinforcements at the wide receiver position. Keon Coleman was a great addition as well.
Shout out Opelousas.
Yeah, Mr. Coleman. Curtis Samuel and Matt Collins were also added at that position as well. Expect big things from Keon Coleman, by the way. They also added Mitchell Trubisky, Lyle Collins at offensive tackle, and on defense they added Mike Edwards at safety as one of the notable additions they made. And in the draft, outside of Coleman, they added Cole Bishop at safety, defensive tackle Dwayne Carter, and running back Ray Davis. And they lost a few guys like Diggs, but also Gabe Davis, who's gone to Jacksonville, Mitch Morse at center, Damian Harris, and on defense, Leonard Floyd, who is now with the 49ers. As we talked about earlier, famously known for hurting Aaron Rodgers 4 plays into that Week 1 game. Last year this Bills team was supposed to be one of the best offenses in the league, but in 7 of their first 10 games, they scored 25 or fewer points in those games. And when you have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, right, you're supposed to score 30 pieces every week, but things had to change. So they brought in Joe Brady to be the offensive coordinator. Sean McDermott is still the head coach. And look, I do think this Bills offense has a lot of potential. You have James Cook in the backfield, who's a great dual threat running back of his own. You added Ray Davis in the 4th round to keep that running game going. And then you added Keon Coleman, wide receiver. Dalton Kincaid at tight end as a solid option. He should be the second leading receiver on this Buffalo team. But Brian, this has been, I guess, a discussion worth having for a while now, because this Bills team, they always seem to face the Chiefs in the biggest games every postseason, and they always falter. So do you think that even with the loss of Stephon Diggs, they added Keon Coleman, and the defense is still a pretty solid one, even though they did, lose a few veteran guys, do you see the Bills making the Super Bowl, or is that too much to ask for this team?
That's way too much to ask, Dave. And I like what the Bills did, like young guys they brought in. I think Keon Coleman's going to be a star in this league, but you're replacing a receiving core of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis with Samuel and unproven Keon Coleman. Like, that's a big step down. And if, Josh Allen's a great quarterback, don't get me wrong. There is that Brett Favre in him where he's just going to sling it in a few games. He's going to throw some bad interceptions. We saw it Week 1 where he had, I count three stupid interceptions that were just arm punts at that point. So that's going to happen in Josh Allen's game. of all that, I think he can elevate this team to that position. I think the Bills are more of a risk to miss the playoffs than win the Super Bowl.
Okay. 16, we'll go to you, buddy. Look, I think, even though you lose Stephon Diggs, you still have a pretty okay receiving quarterback to kind of replace that production-wise. Your thoughts on Keon Coleman, who should, in my opinion, be the wide receiver number 1 for Buffalo once the season ends here in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good addition and everything. And the thing about it is that you got to take into consideration that people are making a big deal out of losing Diggs, but his production was already starting to dip. They were always starting to pivot away from using him so much because his production was dipping. I mean, look at the catch that Diggs missed in the playoffs. So I think a lot is made about that. I feel like Josh Allen is a good enough quarterback to make what's around him better. This is a good team, and it's still a good offense. And people just are enamored with names. They're saying, oh, they lost Diggs, they're going to fall off. No, you said it. Gunslinger quarterback, right? Those can win you and lose you some, but they can also make guys. So I would say that Coleman's going to have a productive season because it's like, hey, you got to get somebody involved. You got to see what you got. I feel like it's going to be pretty good for them.
Amen. And then to wrap up, before we get to our record prediction, 16, from a fantasy perspective, Josh Allen is
wrong brother. He said me. You mean?
Oh my lordy! Oh, man, I'm still thinking about.
What are your?
Hey, it's no worries. I was just gonna let you keep going, Nate. You
because if you take fantasy advice from me, whoa, the amount of trouble your team would be in. Just saying.
I'm just look. So Sal says Bill champs until then. Yeah,
that's fair. 100% fair.
Yeah, that's true.
It's fair. He's right.
I will say so. I'm thinking about Josh Allen and Hallie Stanfield too much. You feel me? I'm still trying to process how that happened. I mean, I don't doubt Allen.
Problem for Josh Allen. He might be thinking too much about Haley Steinfeld to focus on
it.
Intercepted.
This is a safe space. We can talk about it. If you're heartbroken about it, so yeah.
Hey man, I'm watching the Bachelorette, man. That the lead girl on that show is very, very pretty. I will say, but I digress.
Let's just say this was a safe space. Like, listen, if you come to love advice from a guy named M16 and Easy, you deserve exactly what you get.
Whoa. Hey, I was just wanted to let my man express his feelings. Like, maybe he was shooting his shot on IG with Haley, and he was waiting on a response. I don't know. That's why I said it was a safe space. Hey, you never know.
Left on red 17 weeks ago. Damn.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
What are we gonna do?
Okay.
Wow.
But back to Josh Allen. So Easy. My mistake there. When it comes to Josh Allen, he is obviously one of the top 5 fantasy quarterbacks that should be drafted within the first 5 rounds of a fantasy draft. But do you feel like, from a fantasy production standpoint, will it go down because Diggs is gone? Because we've seen, despite the fact that it was early in his career when Allen struggled without Diggs, do you expect some sort of drop off when it comes to his production fantasy wise, or do you feel like he'll still be a top 1, top 2 fantasy quarterback by the end of the season?
No, I don't think his prediction is going to I don't think his production is going to dip. I think, if anything, to 16's point, he brought it up, the offense might open up a little bit. You had mentioned Joe Brady, Nate, coming in and really opened up that offense. They weren't as reliant on that 1-2 punch between him and Diggs. They opened it up. They spread the ball around. They got James Cook more involved on offense. So I expect that to continue. I know we've mentioned Keon Coleman. I know we mentioned Curtis Samuel, but I think Khalil Shakir might be their leading receiver. He was in the slot last year. I think he's probably going to be right back over there. He seemed to really build a good connection with Josh Allen towards the end of the year. I could see him being a huge sleeper in the fantasy world. I wouldn't say a late round pick. I think he's going more like in the 9 to 12 round range. But I could see him having a really good year. I love Keon Coleman. I think he's going to be a good player in this league. But, we're still trying to figure out is he, where is he going to have to develop at? Is he ready to come in right away and be productive? And I'm not saying that because of his skill set. I'm saying it more because of what they did with him at Florida State. They didn't run a full route tree with him. It was really just a bunch of jump balls and fades. So he's probably going to have some work to do to learn the route tree and really like understand the scheme and everything like that, which I don't doubt he can learn, but I think it might be a learning process. Khalil Shakir has the familiarity with the offense already. You got Dalton Kincaid there as well. Curtis Samuel's going to be good, like Mike Williams, until he gets hurt. It's just one of those things. It happens every year. But I think that, if you're looking to the Buffalo Bills, you're looking at Josh Allen, especially in like a fantasy league or a super flex format, you should be very confident with him, starting him at your quarterback position, QB1, because he's not only going to have the passing production, he's still going to continue to have that rushing production as well. So I wouldn't worry about that. I think when it comes to the team, Sal said it, they're the champs until they're not. I will say, if they don't get it done this year, or at least make like a Super Bowl appearance, do you look at Sean McDermott and make a coaching change? Now, most people will say, well, he's been good his whole time there. Why would you just change? Maybe that's the farthest that they can go with Sean McDermott as coach.
Maybe you get stale.
Maybe you do like the Warriors. You bring in Steve Kerr, and he's the one that brings them over the top. Maybe it's a situation like that where you've ran your course with Sean McDermott, and the furthest he can get you is the second round. Something to think about. Personally, I don't think he deserves to be fired, but if you think you need somebody to get you to the next level, I think this is a huge year for Sean McDermott to kind of figure that out and get over the hump.
Okay. Well, at the end of the day, it's clear the goal of this Buffalo Bills team, like every other team, is to make this Super Bowl. But at the same time, this Bills team has a good chance to do it because they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Josh Allen, and you have a pretty solid offensive core behind them, along with the solid defense as well. Despite the fact that they did lose a lot of veteran pieces this offseason, including like a Jordan Poyer and a Tre'Davious White, but they should be okay on that front. Schedule-wise, it does look not as promising outside of the Cardinals and the Titans and the Patriots twice. There's no easy team on their schedule whatsoever. They have Baltimore, they have Houston, they have the Chiefs, the Niners, the Lions, and it's just a bit of a mess schedule-wise. But I do think I'm confident enough in Josh Allen and the Bills to win the division. So I do have them finishing at a good 12-5. I do think that Josh Allen will continue to produce with his arm and his legs this season, and Keon Coleman will be one of the best receivers in the league. He'll show that very early. I would say, just to be not too crazy of a prediction, but I would say top 20 receiver this upcoming season, despite him entering his first season in the NFL. So the Bills will make the postseason, win the division at 12-5. They will make the AFC Championship. I'm saying it right now. It's going to be Bills and Bengals in that game. So Brian, we'll head to you. Who do we have, or where do we have the Bills finishing to wrap things up?
So for me, I think the Bills are going to be a competitive team. I think they're going to, unfortunately, they're going to rely too much on young and experience. This is kind of a year to get on their, feet and stuff. I have this team finishing a very competitive 9-8 in third place.
Wow. Okay. Big difference here from record-wise, because me and you, we've had a lot of similar records.
Yeah, we're the same in every. Yeah, 9-8. I think they lose a lot of one-score games, and that just the inexperience they have in key positions.
Okay. 16. Where's your confidence at when it comes to this Bills team and their schedule?
That's still a good team. And people make a lot of, they're playing a lot of good teams, but that's what you're going to be facing in January. So it gets them tested. So just a good team. How good they could be, who knows, but it's definitely division championship good, which I feel like they are going to win the division. 12-5 is where I saw this team going to. They're not a one and done team. A deep run is not out of the question. There'll be a tough out. In a land where Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson don't exist, this is the class of the AFC right here. But Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes do exist. So division around the playoffs seems like a good stopping point for where they'll be at. So this is a good team, depending on the matchup where they could go, but this is a division winner and at minimum at least one playoff win for them.
Okay. Easy to finish us off, my guy. Where do we have the Buffalo Bills finishing? Is it first in division, or are they going to be in the middle of the pack of the AFC East?
I had the thought that Brian had as well. Like, is this the year where they start to fall off the cliff, right? But I'm not as bold as Brian to say that to be on the record. I feel like my bold prediction was Khalil Shakir, so we'll ride that one. But just, I did have that thought as well, Brian. I see 11 to 12 wins for the Bills. But I think it all comes down to Josh Allen. Okay. This is 100% like, if he does what he's supposed to do, he's going to be the reason why they get there. You got rid of Stephon Diggs. People make the argument, well, he wasn't good until Diggs got there, or he didn't become the elite quarterback he was until Diggs got there. Patrick Mahomes did it without Tyreek Hill. Now it's your chance to kind of show what you can do without the number one weapon, right? So this is going to be a big year for him. This is going to, I think we all think of him as an elite quarterback, but what takes you up a notch to that upper echelon, right? Where people have no excuses or arguments. So this is going to be a big year for him. And I'm very interested to see what happens. I got 11 to 12 wins. I think they do win the division, but it's all dependent on Josh Allen.
Okay. Well, in that case, folks, I think that'll do it for the AFC East preview. Shout out to our boys here, 16 and Easy, for hopping on and joining us here for the past hour plus. We appreciate you both as always. We hope to have you guys back for another division. We'll discuss that off air, but we'll have you guys back as part of our division preview series, which will continue with the AFC North in our next episode. So who will win that one? We shall see. We'll give our predictions and our thoughts on the Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and Bengals, which actually all four of those teams will be in the mid-season edition of Hard Knocks. Yes, I said that correctly. But without further ado, yay!
A lot of Hard Knocks out there.
I love Hard Knocks, don't you? We all love Hard Knocks,
good.
man.
I gotta catch up. I gotta watch the Giants off season. I mean, obviously,
you didn't watch it yet.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, I want to. I'm interested in watching it just based on the clips on Twitter. I didn't mention sleepers for Miami and New England, but Malik Washington is definitely a guy to watch out for. We talked about OBJ, but I think Malik Washington might have something to say as that wide receiver 3 in Miami, which could be very valuable in fantasy. And Jalen Polk, I think he's going to be the number one option there in New England. So he's definitely somebody you should be on the radar with. Either him or Pop Douglas for sure. But I like Jalen coming out, and I like the landing spot. So we'll see.
Sounds great. Alrighty, any final thoughts, guys, on the division or anything like that before we wrap things or end things here? And
16 hates Miami.
Oh yeah, the team, right? Not the environment.
The team,
I know.
Not the city.
Not the city. Not the BBL. It's the team.
Ain't nothing wrong like with the city, man. Miami is. If you're single, that's the place to be.
Or even if you're not. I mean, it doesn't change anything.
And then you come home to your wife, and then the wife's mad because you found something, and then
that part's not fun. But yeah, that doesn't change anything. Your eyes, just because you're married, that doesn't change what you see. You can still see. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god!
But I love it. I love it. 16. I love it.
Hey, I'm just keeping it 100, Brian.
Right.
Do not be a bad
as he logs off and goes to his wife after this. Yeah, okay.
Wait, what you say, Ed?
As you log off and go to your wife after
your wife right now, like, hey, babe, how's it going? Hey, Nate, Brian, man, we appreciate y'all, man, a whole bunch for being on here. For the folks that's watching, follow us on Instagram at It's the Radio Show. Please come check us out. We have a lot of fun with whatever the hell it is that we do, but check us out.
All right. Thank you, fellas. We'll see you guys. We'll talk to you guys soon. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode.